Yeah, very good morning to everyone. So, this is the session 4 on project closure, ethics, and digital management. So, in the last session 3, we had a discussion on how a project is getting audited and what are all the assessment strategies we are putting forth in order to ensure the correctness and the perfection of a project in order to avoid it from the closure. And we need to follow some basic ethical procedures in order to ensure the project is still continuing without any termination. So, with respect to today's session, we are going to continue the module 2, in which we are going to discuss on how the various phases of projects are modulated and how those things are screened up and based on the negative phenomenal approaches, how it could be avoided and ensure the positivities around projects can ensure and as well as enhance a project to get into the next level of upgradation. So, getting into the concept, so for auditing assessment, we need to follow some three primary, secondary, and tertiary methodologies. The primary methodology is to ensure the successful criteria development, and for every project, we need to have some basic evaluation metric. Those metric or what we call it as a rubrics for evaluating each and every success and failure of project. We need to have a evaluation checklist or evaluation key area in order to ensure whether the criteria met out for the projects is not full enough. It has yet to get updated. It has yet to get some more, sharpness in order to ensure the product rectification, and as well as the project development through a assessment methodology. That methodology primarily we are going to discuss on successful criteria development, and followed by that we have an analysis which is empirical analysis, which is a theoretical analysis or practical or a comparative analysis. We have enormous kind of analysis in which we are going to majorly utilize empirical analysis in order to ensure a project is bifurcated, in order to deviate, in order to align, in order to match the channels which are all existing as an optimistic channels. And coming forth to the next concept of reporting. In this phase of reporting, we need to check with the criteria which has been developed, which has been analyzed, which has been compared, and then it is coming to a final destiny called a report. And when it is entering into a file as a paper or as a record or as a observation, it becomes a standard. So slowly, as a prototype is getting a shape, it is getting a dimension, it is getting a reformation, those reformation, regulation, all putting together and finally reaches the end product and reaches the end user, for which I need to have a record of observation, and that record of observation is nothing but a report. That is what we term it as project report. So those project report must have some basic information, as if a layman takes up the report and if he or she observes the report must furnish the basic details, even if a non-technical person could be able to understand what is in and out of a project. It should not be designed in such a way that only technical people behind the particular theme of the project would able to portray the conceptual framework in the project. So all these three things mentioned in this particular assessment and audit methodologies all must be framed in such a way that even a non-technical person should also be in a situation to analyze what is the positivity, subjectivity, objectivity, analytical area, and then coming to the finalization, recommendations or suggestions. It is similar to execute a research work as we do research works in our post graduations or masters. We have around 5 chapters, starting from abstract or introduction, going for a review of literature, and coming to a methodology, and then getting into a data analysis part, that is through statistical tools, and getting through a particular activity of suggestions and recommendations, and getting a confined, justified conclusion. So these 5 things all put together is like a 5 fingers and a hand. I can't even get into a particular activity without a single finger. All five fingers are mandatorily required for a particular hand to grab some things. Similarly, a project is to be grabbed only by the five fingers in the hand, and those five fingers are mandatorily present. And for executing those five fingers, these three methodologies are utmost categorization. Coming to the next slide. So these three things are detailed here. That is taking the first coin as successful criteria development. So for a criteria to be developed, I need to run through various sponsorships and various flaws, various errors, various lack of interviews, how many proposals have been submitted, how many tenders have been come in order to ensure a project completion on time, and for which I need to determine and agree the project success criteria through some rubrics. And that rubrics is starting from the evaluation sheet, which is nothing but making the establishment on par with the business elementalization, all business requirements. So, take for example procurement of raw material. So if I'm procuring raw materials from the extreme northern part of India, I'm starting a project in the southern part of India by getting the help from the western side and the eastern side. So all the demographical factors are helping or supporting hands in order to ensure a project to be completed. So for which all the four zones of a particular country is giving me a tagline in order to ensure all the developmental activities, all the questions, all the survey, all the answers what I get from the survey, all the members who are all the core team, who are all the allied team, who are all the the selections team, who are all the steering committee. Everyone must drive towards a common destiny called project completion. If I would ensure the first 5 points in this particular listed 10 points out of 5, if all the 5 are getting completed, I am starting to a first level of attainment or a Everest point. If I would like to climb about 14,000 feet or 15,000 feet, the first 5 points is like climbing around 7,000 to 7,500 feet. That is half done. So once after meeting the standards as half done, I'm coming to the secondary criteria like collecting the responses from the team, that is internal stakeholders. So once after collecting the data from the external stakeholders and the suppliers, vendors who are all going to be the part of project, I'm collecting it internally. And then I'm focusing on the viewpoints and the success rates and the failure rates and the opportunities which are all bypassed. And then I'm going to develop a questionnaire which is including open-ended questions. So in the first half, I'll be asking only the closed-end questions like option A, B, C, D. Out of four options, choose one. If I would give a limitation, your response might be fitting one of the four responses what I give. If it is going to be an open-ended question, everyone tries to open up their refreshing area, tries to open up their own developmental area where they can include the higher order benefits, higher order quantification, higher order qualification, higher order amplifying the demand too. When the demand is getting amplified, obviously the project becomes successful by increasing the production rate. If the production rate is increased, obviously the responses from the both internal and external stakeholders will be organized in a very good manner. And finally, the ideas are getting converted through a particular channel which is regarding a project's current scenario. Take for example windmill. So in the extreme southern part of Tamil Nadu, we have enormous kind of windmills which is generating a volumes and bulks of electricity. So from the production of those particular windmills, a windmill blade, how much did it cost? Who are all the procurers? Who are all the contributors? In order to ensure a windmill to be placed, it has to be functionalized properly. How much time it takes? So if at all around a batch of windmills, say if take for example 25 windmills in a particular longitudinal area, how much time it takes to overall construct the entire 25 windmills and how it is executed in a regular routine interval as like solar panel. These are all the resources which has been executed with the theme of a project. Their ultimate theme is to go for an alternate source of electricity rather than switching on a switch and getting a electricity which is being either converted to commercial current or a household current. We are paying it in a doubles or triples of cost. So when I go for alternate resources, alternate fuels, alternate resources, alternate kinds of elements for my daily routine activity, I should have some backup. So these are all the things which are all in the alternate criteria must be ensured that in the near future, say take for example 2040 or 2050, these alternate resources might be in a situation of primary resources, and these primary resources will vanish away. So slowly we are approaching the transformation from all the parts of production, not only in windmills or not only in solar panels, every single routine activity what I face every day might get a transformation through a new unique approach on a particular regular activity that might occupy the space of the current scenario. That is what the theme is. The current scenario is always dynamic. I cannot expect the same thing what I'm experiencing today by the next generation who will not experience the same. So the projectors keep on giving some dynamic approaches that will be the key fuel or a key indicator in order to ensure the smoothness and the readiness of an engine called ready reckoner of a particular project. So getting into the next area, so with respect to analysis, so which are all the areas I need to furnish with some comparative or with some data or with some external or internal analysis or how I could summarize this. So it is very simple, starting with the identification and discussion of the current problem. I'm focusing the current problems, future forecasting of the problems, making the projections and challenges of particular project, and out of the challenges, how I'm going to identify or extract the opportunities. It is very simple. I can tell you in two nutshell. One is finding opportunities and challenges, and the next one is finding the challenges and the opportunities. So majorly we stick on with the second one, finding challenges and the opportunities, and we are lagging behind. We are not taking a step ahead. So when I would like to take a step forward or going beyond a particular limitation or a boundary, I should focus on the first tagline called finding opportunities and challenges. If I were able to identify the challenges in the opportunities, I might have a trial and error. If I would like to go for opportunities and challenges, I might have a very good identification of my problems, and I will go for a remedy rather than a solution. So this is highly applicable for all the one who is working under a project. That is finding a remedy, not a solution. If I would take a solution, that would be applicable only for this problem. If I'm going for a remedy across any discipline or across any domain, if a problem is arising, I can face the problem by having a strong remedial measure in my hand. So it is like taking a preventive care or taking like a predictive care. I can predict, I can prevent, safeguard. It could be like a barricade in order to ensure all the external attacks, which is not at all penetrating into the team of project. So avoiding unnecessary penetration of problems from a particular project, this is to be ensured. So for which I'm making an analysis, and that analysis starts with the past, present, future. And second point, interviewing to discuss the same agenda to get into the next refining area. So generally we conduct 15 days once we have a meeting with all the project team members to ensure the progress is going in the right way. So that particular process, what we call it as giving a presentation or giving a interview or giving a survey or having a brainstorming session, all put together, I need to develop that particular prototype which I had a discussion 15 days back. What is the present day progress, whether the report submitted 15 days back has the development or not, and that development has to be summarized and has to be discussed in order to understand the transformation from generic problems to specific problems. So, when the generic problems are identified and given by the team, what is your contribution? What is my contribution? What is the next fellow's contribution in order to make the generic problems to the specific problems and identify the remedial measure? And when we are performing the fourth point, that is the root cause analysis, I will be identifying and gaining some input. or insight in order to know the core phenomenal or the core experimental observation, which is the reason for so many dragging of this system. I'll give you an example. So when this particular regulation, we all have a project called regulation. For every 4 years once or every 6 years once, we try to change the regulation of the curriculum what we are going to discuss. And that particular regulation, we have a board of studies that will have around a three expert team of my own department and the three expert academicians or the industrial people from the other area, and those six people sit together, have a meeting, try to change the regulation, try to change the questioning pattern, and try to change the academic learning, and what is the percentage of theoretical area and what is the percentage of practical area, and how I'm going to award the degree. For awarding a degree, what are all the qualifications and what are all the desirable elements, so what is a maximum period individual can complete a degree. Out of 2 year program, extra 1 year could be given. That 1 year is a maximum exhaustive period, and maximum exhaustive period has been intimated to you already in the regulation. So, while preparing a regulation for a master program, we take nearly 2 to 3 days of inputs, which is collected from all the six people, and finally we go to a judge who is the seventh indirect individual who is going to contribute. Out of seven responses, if four responses are maximized, then I'm going to the fourth maximum majority responses. This is how we conduct a meeting for changing the regulations of all the programs across globe. Irrespective of any discipline, we are insisting this. Similarly, the same thing happens in project. If I'm going to go for any kind of problem, what is the severity? Whether the subject what you learn in this elective is really important in your employability, whether it is matching, whether the regularity and the severity of the problem of your study is matching with the employability or not. If not, leave the paper, omit the paper, introduce a new paper, get some inputs from the company side. So industrial institution interaction, triple I comes here. So I'll be setting the priority from the problems. So slowly the priorities are getting combined, and that particular combination, we are into this particular organization by making a categorization. So as of this subject is concerned, I will give you a new highlight of the subject. Thing is the project closure ethics and digital management. So whereas the project closure will be the topic, will be the furnishing area on project management also. And that project management we will be discussing, we will have a greater chapterization and operational elective also. So in this way, some 20 to 30 percentage of concept what we learn here as auditing, assessment, methodology, survey, analysis, sensitivity, objectivity, subjectivity, these and all will have a reflecting area in the opposite functional area of a management individual. So taking the curriculum, it is highly flexible. Whatever the area I'm picking it up, it has all the five basic functions of management, what we usually call it as human resource, financing, marketing, operational, and analytics. So without this five touches, I cannot take a single topic from the management, because all the five touches are highly sensitive, which is highly, contributing, which is highly adhesive, which is highly cohesive with the topic in and out of a management. So, for making all the five things applicable, I need ethics. I should not go beyond ethics. And slowly we are taking the support from system. That is why we are talking on project closure, ethics, and digital management. Three areas we are going to combine. Out of three areas, all the five areas are indirectly contributing to you. Without this indirect contribution, I cannot categorize business requirement, team related requirements, scope, documentation, and deliverable status. Whenever I get an opportunity to track my consignment, whenever I'm getting the transparency, if I'm getting this transparency across all the shipping, obviously this particular project might not close. I'll give you an example. In India Post, we have a speed post, we have various consignments. Similarly, in other private couriers, we have the same consignment tracking for which we have been given a barcode. By scanning the barcode, I'm getting the consignment details where it is exactly located, when it will reach the beneficiary. So the sender always tracks the consignment whether it is reaching the beneficiary on time or not. This is how we plan. And once upon a time, it was not available to all the consumers. After sending a post, only if they reply, I know that they have got an acknowledgement, for which the postal department had an option called acknowledgement with due. So once after handing over the letter to the receiver will be signing in a card, and that card will be coming back to the sender. That implies that the receiver has got this acknowledgement. This is how we have confirmed the consignment has been reaching to the end user. By now, slowly the entire department has reformed with all kind of systematization. This is how the next slide goes on reporting. When I try to report on this, I need to collect the data which has been collected from the various questionnaire. So take for example, you might be in a situation in the upcoming semester, you might be in a area to complete your project. So final year M.B.A project has mandatorily a questionnaire. So for making a questionnaire, you should do some pilot study. And that pilot study is nothing but by creating a rough questionnaire, collect at least one fourth or 10 percentage, whichever is higher. For example, if your sample size is 100, the pilot study can be done for 25 samples. If the responses of the 25 samples are really good, it is really biased. I should get a responses in a compositional manner. If I'm getting 25 responses, if all the 25 responses are strongly agree, all the 25 responses are strongly disagree or neutral, there will not be any differentiation. I cannot freeze an hypothesis. The result is the null hypothesis is accepted. There is no significant difference. So I should not get this. If I'm getting this, there is some issues in creating a questionnaire. So this is the indicator. Actually, the pilot study is an indicator to check the quality of a questionnaire. The pilot study is mandatorily to be done. But majorly nowadays projects, while postgraduate research scholars are not doing this. So my suggestion is before getting into any kind of researches or project, please ensure that the pilot study is done and then confirm the identification of opportunities which has been successfully qualitative or successfully applied or addressing the problem, and then make the list as a resolved or revised one, and then add recommendation, as I told, recommendations and suggestions, and then finalize the details, and then get the next level approval to the senior people who are all next about to you. This is how the flow goes on with the report. So for which I need to make a pilot analysis or a pilot study. So without this pilot study, if a scholar is making a particular option, then the value of that particular option will be not that much comparable or that much reachable with respect to the existing value. If this comparison is not done, I cannot sharpen the project. If it is not sharpened, this project will get a termination value. This is how we lose many projects. Not only in academic area, across all the discipline, this is what the better happening. This is due to poor planning and poor people selection. So planning, people selection, and then purpose selection, and then process selection, everything, every piece of a production, and finally it reaches the product. So four P's are contributing to the fifth P called product. So people selection is also vitally important. The process selection is vitally important. Purpose selection. Without making all the P's analysis, I cannot get into the final P called product as a overall successful or a unique one. How do I expect this without having a clarity on the previous iterations? How do I expect a perfect iteration in the near future? This is highly ridiculous and highly non-interdependent. I cannot execute this. I'm getting to the next slide. So, with respect to strategic choices, so how do I do this? So every day, every individual day, I just have a end-to-end interaction with my consumers. Random survey has to be done for a project management protocol PMP. The protocol has to be driven, has to be addressed to all the employee. If I'm making any changes in my company, I should address the change to the every employee so that all the employee must get the first level awareness. Then only the employee will give the awareness to the consumers. How many companies are doing this? Obviously, if I take this option, majority of companies are lacking. So there must be a regular meeting, there must be a regular constraint, or there must be a regular, a revision. That revision should ensure the project strategy is highly reasonable. So when a particular option is going to give you an clarity on how this level of interaction is going to enable me, and as well as to make me driven to the next level of control. So for making a choice, what are all the requirement? So the choice requirement has three consideration. One is strategy, the next is optional value option, and next is making the entire creation through a iterative model. So out of three, I need one basic option which is highly iterative, iterations which are all interdependence. So, with respect to allocations of each and every option, I need to focus on the choice requirements for audits has to be done on which category. So, please give your option on these three elements, that is strategy, value option, and then iterations. So, when a particular three options are given to you, majorly I just give you an option, value option, and iterations, which are all the secondary elements. All three are required. Without these three things, I cannot ensure the correctness or the rectification of the problem. I need to ensure all the three things. But primarily, I should go for a strategy which is highly iterated. So, in order to reduce the number of, summarization, number of jumps or number of cycle, how many cycle I should go for auditing? Usually, in a higher education institution, we have National Assessment and Accreditation Council (NAC), NAAC. We have a board called National Board of Accreditation, which is the headquarters is located in Delhi. So these two bodies will oftenly visit to into higher education institution for giving them an approval called this is accredited course. So generally, as a student, we might not have an awareness between a non-accredited course and an accredited course. Usually, if your MBA has NBA, that is National Board of Accreditation for any department, not only for MBA, any department in the higher education institution. If the NBA is given approval to those departments, then the departments are higher order departments, and those departments could be converted to research centers or nodal centers, and the responses of the beneficiaries of the departments can easily apply for overseas business. This is the reason for NBA and NAC accreditation, for which only major higher education institutions are working a lot to get this. And only few numbers have institutions have got this accreditation. And for getting this accreditation, we need to work a lot. We need to collect a lot. We need to file a lot. We need to get some lot of input from the various consultancies. We need to literally make aware that all the employees are aware about the regular vision mission policy statement. Very simple example I'm giving. If you go ask any of your professor or ask any of your regular teacher about the vision, mission, and policy statement of their own institution of their own department, they might not be aware. Out of 100 employees in a particular college or university, who except for 10 percentage, the remaining 90 percentage are not aware about their vision, mission, policy statement. If this happens, how a accreditation body or a assessment body will give their approval? There might not be any basic awareness. Every day we are seeing the board. Every day in the particular institution, we are making the project's clarity that every individual employee must be aware about our vision and mission, whether the vision and mission are aligned with the general standards or not. We are getting all kind of approval, but the basic thing, what we see it every day, what we listen every day, what we note every day, we are not getting awareness. If someone asks me the vision of my college, vision of the department, vision of the individual, will not be an awareness. They will not tell it in the correct terms. They might not get that interconnection. This is the lackness of this particular PMP, that is project management protocol, insists us to do this. So as a student, you might be aware about the vision of the department of SRM. So as a student, you might be, aware about the mission of the department of MBA, which is given through a distance and online learning. So AICT has given an approval for this particular program, so for which I need to go for a PMP, that is project management protocol. So how many respondents are available? Take a survey. Out of those respondents, how many respondents are really utilizing the program for a next level promotion? Take a survey. Take a gender based survey, take a educational qualification based survey, take a demographical based survey. I am from rural area, I am from urban area, I am from semi urban area, I am from metropolitan area. Take a survey. How many respondents are clearly understanding the problem and the necessity of this program? So if you do so many iterative study across various headers, if you are segregating the data out of 100 input, you need to segregate on around 8 to 10 categorization: educational qualification, gender, age group, area of domicile, that is where, from which area I'm going to commute, and then family status. So these are all the criteria I need to ensure the project has been successfully reaching to that particular society of group alone. If around 25 to 35 age group of people are accepting this task, don't bother about the others. Focus on that age groups. So for which I need to do a survey. I need to segregate the data. Don't waste your even a single minute of time in wasting the resources to the unknown authors or uninterested people who are all into the particular study. For which please make a survey and identify the right set of people, give them the training, and then make the training to the next level. This is how the practice should be. Please don't even spend a lack of 1 minute of wastage in giving a exhaustive data or exhaustive monitoring program or exhaustive training to the one who is not at all interested. So this is how the process to be. And getting to the next slide, who are all the major goal setters of an audit? So first individual is task givers. So who is my task giver? So we learn management, that is a Henry Fayol principle, unity of command, unity of direction. But literally we are lacking in this. So, as a junior most employee in the department, that junior most employee will be getting the task from senior most employee 2, senior most employee 3, till the employee who has joined before the junior most employee. So, the thing is, if there are around 8 employees, the eighth fellow will be getting all the inputs from the 7 fellows in the previous queue. This should be terminated in order to ensure the project. So, as everyone says, age is a number. Age is just a number. Literally, experience is just a number. By having an experience, I cannot say that I know everything. Literally, in project, if all the people are as a team, a 5 year experience fellow, a 15-year experience fellow, a 7 year experience fellow, a fresher, a 25-year experience fellow, all the fellows are into a team, and that team has to be commonly assessed with the integrated inputs. This is how the goal should be. When you are going for any kind of auditing, integrated goals are highly preferable rather than personal or customized goal. Don't go for customization in goals. Go for integrated goals that will be better for promotional activities. As a teacher, I cannot say no to learn. I should learn every day. I should read books every day. I should refer papers every day. Then only I can make myself to a next level sharpening. If I would sharpen myself, then I can sharpen the upcoming generations who are all depending on me. This is how a goal has to be. So I cannot say no to books. So I should have a library. Wherever I go, I should refer. I should have a habit of learning every day. Without even learning, I cannot ensure the next level of experimentation. That is a kind of goal. Literally, in projects, a junior most fellow is not a one who is odd man out. He is also one among the member in department. Just because of a one at the age of 20 or 25 or 28 or 20 30, if they are completing a doctorate, it doesn't mean that it is the one who is a literal fellow who have enormously tremendously activated participated in order to ensure the entire project to close in the next phase of the promotion. It doesn't mean that he has fabricated the work. He is also the contributor. Literally, in the same way, project should be taken in such a way that all the fellows in the department must be equally treated. And even a small tool given by the last fellow will also be helpful in making the project to the next level of upgradation. This is what the goal of an audit must be. And getting to the next slide, quality checking. So once after the task has been given by my supervisor or my HOD, I need to go to a evaluation process. And that evaluation process must be like giving them a query, making the query to the next level of ticketing. If I would generate a ticket, in how many days the ticket is getting resolved. I'll give you a example. If I would go for a any kind of purchase, cash on delivery, UPI, credit card, debit card, any kind of payments can be made. A project must ensure that all the payments has to be unified. Don't give so many options. Just make the payment of that particular options in a unified criteria. After making a product purchase behavior, pay the particular amount in person as a QR code. Bharat higher order payments, Bharat lower order payments, Bharat common payment portal, unified user interfaces. So when I'm going for these kind of payment QR codes, unify the code, unify the QR, unify the payment channel. Don't have so many options which will ruin the system. This is how the entire task has to be unified. If I could not manage a task, try to unify the task. If I could not audit a task, try to unify the quality. Don't please give so many versions of the product. Unify all the versions and give it as a moderate version. So even if I am a crorepati or a businessman, I should have this quality. The what the quality I am going to purchase must be the quality even a layman is going to purchase. So when the quality has to be unified, obviously the rating will be marginal, will be acceptable, will be unified. So the user interfaces are trying to get unified in this task. This is the agenda of task management, which is indirect unification. So when I would like to try to make the unification process, which is across all the field, slowly it will give a transformation. So next level of updation of our nation, next level updation of our ethical behavior, consumer rights, project management, everywhere. Not only in this particular criteria of smaller area of study, the major area of study will also contribute in order to make the study which is highly creative and innovative too. So which is making the process smooth, which is clearing the query smooth, which is resolving the ticket in a limited period. So the ticket generated by me as a query or a complaint will get resolved in the next 24 hours. That promise I can give to any kind of end user. This is how a task has to be qualitatively prepared. I need to fix a task to you with some basic quality. Without a quality, if I'm giving you a task, the task will be completed in a 1 hour of period, and that will not ensure your competitiveness. That will not ensure your competency. If I would like to evaluate your competency, I should give a task which is highly attainable and based on your systematic knowledge, ethical knowledge, digital knowledge, and making the project into confinement. You are making the task which is completed on a particular day, which is to be unified contribution, not as an individual contribution. That is what I require as a task giver or a task evaluator. So, getting to the next slide. So, when I am making all these things, surely I'll have risk. Surely I'll be taking some uncertain risk or a certain risk, both are applicable. I should know where the risk arises and what would be the consequences of the risk and how the risk could be met out with some measures. So after committing a risk, how I can come out of the risk by facing the consequences and what are all the measures I should make. So for which I need to analyze the time taken, feasibility, and the resources, and whether the affordability and the performances are equal. If I would like to afford around a lakh as a fine, so usually in majority of institutions, if there is going to be a government holiday, the particular holiday, if they are conducting as a working day indirectly, that will be considered as a penalized penalty factor, and that penalty factor is also coming under project. So this particular penalty, if I am paying for a continuous 3 or 5 times, the government has a limit. If the penalty is being continuously levied by the institution, the penalty will be considered as suspension. So I may not go for furthermore activity. The suspension will be extended. So once after clearing the suspension, I can come into a conclusion that this is highly risky. So identification of risk, which has some basic features called performances, affordability, time, and feasibility check. When I take feasibility, I'll have three basic feasibility. One is technical, the other one is market, the other one is money, that is financial. So these three things I need to make sure that marketing, time feasibility or technical feasibility, and then financial feasibility, all the three things of feasibility to be ensured in order to make a clear understanding of a project. And after making a risk identified, I need to go for improvising my project or improvising my performances. So when I try to stick on with the two things, here in this area, we are going to discuss only two things. One is effectiveness and other one is efficiency. So I have a basic a single line definition for effectiveness and efficiency. It is highly simple. Effectiveness is doing right things, and efficiency is doing things right. So when I would opt the effectiveness, obviously doing right things, I'm omitting the wrong things. I'm not at all bothered about the things which are all decreasing my performances. When I'm jumping to efficiency, I may not sure. I may not have a sure ideology that this is going to give me a option which is highly prioritizable. So only we say that for every automobile, the mileage is 40 kilometer per liter. The 40 kilometer per liter is efficiency, is not effective. Whereas electrical vehicle, the same thing. For charging 1 hour, I mean driving around 100 kilometers. So this could be effective because the resources are identified as an alternate. So effectiveness brings out alternatives. Efficiency is input process output. The ratio between output and input is nothing but efficiency. So my car engine is 80 percentage efficiency. Your bike engine is 60 percentage efficient. So the overall liter capacity of a particular four wheeler is, take for example 30 to 35 liters. So out of 25, some vehicles are 25, 27, 30, 35. It depends on the cubic capacity. Out of the total filling of a particular fuel tank, how much kilometer it could move on. I just need to calculate by filling the entire tank how much kilometer it travels and divided by the total number of inputs. I'm getting number of kilometer driven per liter. This is what efficiency is. So when a project is initiated, efficiency will give you break even. So how much I have given, how much I have lost, what is the residue, what is the efficiency. Whereas if I'm giving only right things, if I'm going for changing an alternate fuel or alternate option for my transportation, obviously it could be effective. And slowly we are into the field of new innovative electric vehicle across two wheelers and four wheeler or any kind of locomotives, getting into the automation learning. So project management protocol learning, PMP learning must be done before getting into any kind of projects interference. So as a tutor or as a learner or as a beginner or a fresher, PMP learning is highly essential and highly innovative in order to ensure the process, the feedback, exit survey, entry survey, the part of making the certifications and giving those certification as a value added proof for their promotion. Everything starts here. And everywhere we have some both document identification and as well as practical exposure and putting together and making it to a next level of improvement. So when I try to improve, I need to learn. I need to check what are all the improvisation area. I need to master myself in the performances. I need to understand the audit clearances. I need to make a team functionalizing into a department. And then I need to make sure that there must be a template given to each and every individual who are all working together as a contemplate with respect to their performances. I should make a context everywhere. Every particular month, I should conduct a context. And that particular context, I should go for lot kind of activity. For example, Smart India Hackathon. So Smart India Hackathon is the program, is the problem given to all the scholars under undergraduation. And those peer group members or the team members are preparing their own template and configuration and giving the solution under various headers given by the SIH 2024. So all the technical AICTE institutions across the entire nation are all conducting Smart India Hackathon in order to ensure the efficiency and the effectiveness putting together. So slowly they are eradicating the efficiency and coming with their effectiveness. For every single particular contributional success, they are paying a huge amount as price. So those templates or those prototypes which are all conducted, which are all attaining the first prizes can converted, can get transformed to the next level, and they can produce the same template in the upcoming competitions with the new dimension. This is applicable. This is what SIH is doing. The same SIH principle to be followed across every department. If I follow SIH in my company surely will get a motivation stating that every contributor know their strength and weakness. Every employee know their strength and weakness. Slowly they will get into the PMP audit process. So in this audit process, the system access is highly increased and the experiences which are all hands on. So hands on training comes into play so that I can avoid bias with respect to technical optimization and identifying the peculiarity in business. So when there is no deviation, when there is no variations, when there is no partiality, obviously mentoring and capability and project management, everything will give you the external result, excellent result, and the external people can also accumulate with respect to your prototyping. And one who has got the patent holder might ensure the same process to get into the next level. And by showing it the same template to the next core successive chain events, I can identify the progress of my prototype. So these were the examples we need to furnish when we are into the examination point of view. We need to showcase these kind of illustrations. So for a better answer, what as a teacher, what I suggest to you all is, for a better answer, illustrations are nearly 25% of the contribution of the answer. If it is going to be a 13-mark question, nearly 4 marks are only from major portion of this particular illustration, and those illustration 3 to 4 marks are going to be from illustrations. So please stick on with the illustration with the proper justifications too. So as we do write in undergraduations, like example windmills or example Smart India Hackathon, in what way it is getting connected. So that has to be represented. Then only you'll be getting the entire marks for this illustration. Actually, the four steps modules for writing an answer must have a synopsis, must have a schematic framework, must have illustrations, must have a explanation of the synopsis. These four things to be randomly followed across all the answers what we are writing. And without this follow up, if you are writing a very big question, it will not fulfill the standards of marking system or evaluation system. So for every individual mark, we need to justify it. So when you are grasping some inputs, please do avoid memorizing. If this particular concept is given to you, brainstorm it. Even a project, even a management, even a activity. Brainstorm it, dissect it, give the prioritization, give the positivity, and then finalize it to a audit process. And coming to the checklist. So when I'm keeping the achievement criteria or figuring out the issues which are all highly non-concurrence elements, which are all non-approved, which are all non-given approval. So I need to give my concurrence on making the evaluation done. If I'm not giving the concurrence, the next priority goes to the next individual who is next to me. So once after meeting every team, I need to fulfill the team that I have given the fullest contribution towards the progress. This has to be ensured. And without ensuring this, I cannot achieve the next level of promotion in any kind of product or process manipulation. So before getting into any kind of people, primary groups or process groups, I should know who is the chief controller, who is the next additional controller, and who is the deputy controller. All the triangle pyramid activities to be followed. The pyramid of project management starts here. So it has to meet all the three sides, and then only it has to come to the next most important criteria, which is to be achieved at a slower rate. So both the rates has to be configured, both the things has to be monitored, and but then and coming to a next level of personification or customization based on the achievements consistency. So once after doing this, I will ensure the interviews which are all statemented, which are all recorded, which are all impacted will have a short question in the next level of promotion. Surely my success rate in the previous iteration will have a witnessing factor whenever the crucial problem of any company arises. And slowly the stakeholders, the who are all the contributors, who are all the people welfare officers will get supporting elements from these kind of inputs. And then to make sure that everyday's issue has to be recommended, suggested with the remedial measure on the same day itself. Every file which are all having a non-conformity, which are all having a lacking, has to be dealt with a suitable or a feasible checklist or a solution on the same day itself. Don't drag the issue, and that dragging of issue will make the project diluted. And finally, I should know every one of the particular issue must get an awareness and must file it as a common backup document in every audit reviews. So, how many of scholars or how many of the employees have a regular file maintenance in their offices is to be literally noted down. Filing of every individual observation is vitally important. Either you could file it as a system e-filing or do it as a physical filing, never mind. but filing has to be done. If there is a query, you need to refer to the document and then only the query to be answered. If you would give a random answer, that could not be accepted. You need to answer it with the proof. And that answering with the proof is because of filing only or e-filing. I should refer. If I file it as a drive, I should refer to my cloud, I should answer. If I file it as a paper, I should refer to the file and then I should answer. So either it is a physical filing or a e-filing, make a regular routine filing of every day's task, whatever the task you are about to follow. You are, instructed to follow. So this is how the reporting has to be done. And finally, when I do these kind of audits in a project management, assessments, auditings, I just segregate into four categorization. The first category is quality check operation. The second category is making the business process to next level of criticality. That is, quality auditing is critical path identification or critical path method (CPM). And the risk auditing is making additional team in order to ensure the aligned parallel ideologies, doing three things or four n number of things at a common point of time. And slowly, procurement audit is to justify how much ever I can transfer to my next level of procurement analysis. How much ever I can trouble. In the last session, we have a troubled projects. How much ever I can reduce the troubled projects because of smoothness and procurement. This is how we plan as like this. So these four things I can conclude or I can end by following these four things regularly in any company. A project will smoothly, actively participated in the upliftment, and the project will have a position in their overall competition. So with this, we'll close for today. Any discussions or any doubts, we can come forward. Any doubts on this? Shall we close the meeting? Any doubts on this?
No doubt. No.
Thank you.
Thank you for the session. Thank you.